almost always been moving at the speed of light. Light moves at the speed of light, gravitational waves move at the speed of light. But I think a better way of thinking about distances is to really think about how long it would take to get there. And that question really depends both on how far it is and how fast you can go. And so, the scary thing about distance in light years is those are the distances and the amount of time it would take in some sense. How much time passes when you're on an interstellar journey is kind of a complicated question, as you may know by now. But the answer to that question is it would take that amount of time if you moved as fast as anything can possibly move in our universe.
And with all of this, Dr. Christine Corbett Moran wonders if we'd lose interest when dealing with interstellar timelines.
I think that novelty tends to wear off very quickly, whether it's with the moon missions or anything else, and that there's this initial, like, oh my gosh, we have this new paradigm shift, we can do this now. But then with the second or third time or second or third decade, and I think it would be really like 100 years project to get to know via transmissions some sort of alien race. There's an element of losing interest, especially when the going's tough. And I imagine it being really, really tough here. So I almost would see, having this be part of a memory, like it's our memory now that humans used to walk on the moon, but none of us were alive when that happened. Some people on the planet obviously were, but none of us. And so it would be kind of in people's memory, like, oh, we talked to aliens once, but now, it's just same old, same old.
Yeah, that problem of distance is a huge one.
York University's Kathryn Denning offers us some potential solutions for dealing with the time delay.
So I think there are two basic approaches to that, and they're not mutually exclusive. One would be just send as much information as possible in a single burst, and that idea has been promulgated by a few scholars quickly as possible, since they know we're here and there's no point in being coy about anything. So there's that idea. There's also something to be said for the idea of taking it more slowly and kind of transmitting more selectively, but that would necessarily then be a very intergenerational process. You'd have to have structures in place that would allow this to go on for a long time. And I mean, certainly we've had some universities that have lasted for hundreds of years. Some religious structures have lasted for hundreds of years. It's possible in theory that such a structure could be created. It might even be easier, though, if we're dealing with artificial intelligence, which again, we might be on both sides. In that case, what's the hurry? You don't have to connect it to the length of a human lifespan at all. But I think anybody involved in this area of work would be so eager to actually have the conversation that they would just want to transmit as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and see what came back, hopefully, again, in one great big burst. As an anthropologist, I just find it fascinating to watch the conversations about this, because in one way, those conversations, the idea, that maybe we should transmit as much as possible quickly, versus the idea that we should have a very carefully scripted message that, there's been broad consultation and a lot of people agree that this is a good thing to do. I see that conversation it's a very interesting one from an anthropological perspective, because it says so much about us and about what our hopes and fears are as human beings today. So on one hand, if we transmit the entire contents of the Google servers, I can see the logic to that. But there's a lot of stuff in there that maybe, wouldn't be putting our best foot forward as human beings. When you think about, all the stuff, the dark side of the internet, there's a lot up there that isn't very pretty and that doesn't represent most of humanity, and certainly not the best of humanity. So one might argue that that's not really the message you want to be sending to a potential alien date. But on the other hand, it's true. I mean, it's a reflection of the world today. So I can understand those dilemmas. In terms of the option of doing, say, a carefully scripted message that there's been broad consultation and it's kind of agreed upon that this is what we want to send, this is what we want to say, and then people find the best possible ways to say it, that says something else about our hopes and fears for humanity. Embedded within that idea is the hope that we can speak with a unified voice on Earth, that we can find something, anything that we all agree upon. I think that's a profoundly hopeful way of looking at things, and it's a kind of thinking that I like to encourage, because I think this is one of the blessings of space, is that it does enable us to look at Earth in a different way. The whole idea of the overview effect, that as soon as people left the surface of Earth and looked back down, that they realize that, we're all on this planet together. And that might not be a bad launching point for us as a spacefaring species.
This has been Transmission Podcast, hosted by Cecilia Lynn Jacobs and produced by Ian Garrett and Kate Ladenheim. On this episode, you heard
Beth Billar,
Aaron Zimmerman,
Kathryn Denning,
Dr. Duncan Forgan, Seth Shostak,
Christine Corbett Moran,
Pete Worden. Original composition and sound editing by Miles Avery. Transmission is a podcast and performance series speculating on what might happen if we began to receive the popular broadcasts of intelligent alien life, and follows two sisters selected to lead an interstellar mission to make first contact. Learn more about our team and upcoming performances at luxaterra.com, and find us on Facebook and Twitter at Luxaterra. That's LUXTATERRA. Transmission is a production of Toaster Lab in Canada and is a fiscally sponsored project of Fractured Atlas in the United States.